Have you ever found yourself in one of those moments late at night when the world feels different? Quieter, but not in a peaceful way. It's like everything's holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. That's how it felt that night, and I'm not one to get paranoid easily. It was a Tuesday, one of those long, miserable days at work where you clock in early and don't clock out until the sky's pitch black. I'd stayed late, catching up on paperwork, and by the time I hit the highway it was well past midnight. Not a single car in sight. Honestly, I was grateful for the solitude at first. But after about 30 minutes on the road, that strange feeling crept in. The kind where your body tenses up for no reason at all. Maybe it was because there were no streetlights, no cars, no towns, just endless roads stretching ahead like a ribbon into nothingness. The kind of place where if you broke down you'd be waiting for hours, if anyone even came by. I glanced at my GPS, it was frozen. No signal. Of course. I was on a shortcut I'd taken dozens of times, but that night, I wasn't so sure. Did I miss a turn? How could I have? But that uneasy feeling, it made me second-guess myself. I shook it off, figuring I'd hit the next exit soon. Another 10 minutes passed, and that exit never came. The road just kept going with no familiar landmarks, no signs, nothing. Then I saw it. Dim lights in the distance, like a mirage, a gas station. My relief was immediate. Finally a chance to stop, get my bearings, and maybe a snack. I pulled into the lot, my headlights washing over the rusty, weathered sign above the door. Mike's Pit Stop. The place looked like it hadn't seen a renovation since the 80s. I parked next to the only other vehicle, an old beat-up pickup truck. It was strange because I hadn't passed anyone on the road, but I figured maybe the driver had been parked here a while. I stepped out, the cold air biting at my skin. I zipped up my jacket as I walked inside. The place smelled like old grease and stale coffee, and there was no music, just the hum of the neon sign flickering overhead. Behind the counter was a man. He looked to be in his late 60s with sunken eyes and deep lines etched into his face, as though he'd seen one too many hard winters. He didn't even look up when I came in, just stared down at a newspaper that looked as worn as the station itself. "Hey, do you know how far it is to Route 52 from here?" I asked, keeping my tone light. No need to come off like I was panicking, I just needed directions after all. He lifted his head slowly, his eyes locking onto mine. They were cold, detached, almost like he was sizing me up. "Route 52? You're way off, son." I blinked, feeling a slight chill creep down my spine. "Off? What do you mean? I've taken this road plenty of times." "You took a wrong turn somewhere," he said, his voice gravelly, like it had been a while since he'd spoken to anyone. "Happens to folks sometimes, especially at night." The way he said night made me pause. I couldn't place it, but there was something in his tone, something off. "Okay, can you tell me the fastest way back to 52? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stood there for a moment, just staring. I glanced over my shoulder toward the truck outside, but I didn't see anyone. Maybe it was his. Maybe it wasn't. That's when I realized I hadn't heard anyone else. No footsteps, no movement, nothing. Finally, the old man nodded toward the door. "Best get moving. You don't want to be around here after dark." My pulse quickened. It's already dark. He didn't respond to that, just turned away, disappearing into the back room. I stood there for a second, not sure what to do, but that growing sense of unease was enough. I decided to just fill up the tank and leave. Whatever he was trying to tell me, I wasn't sticking around to find out. I walked back outside, the air colder than it had been just minutes ago. As I started pumping gas, I couldn't shake the feeling I was being watched. Not just by the old man, but someone else. I glanced over at the truck again. This time I saw it. Someone sitting in the driver's seat. Just sitting. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I tried to act casual, focused on finishing the fill-up. But my hands were shaking. I kept telling myself I was overreacting. It was late, I was tired, and this was probably some local guy just getting his own gas or something. Then the truck's headlights flicked on. My heart jumped into my throat. I pretended not to notice, putting the nozzle back as fast as I could without making it obvious I was nervous. As soon as I got back in my car, I locked the doors. The truck didn't move. It just sat there, headlights glaring into my rearview mirror. I started the engine, and as I pulled out of the lot, I noticed the truck still hadn't moved, but about a mile down the road, those same headlights appeared behind me. At first, I thought it was a coincidence, but as I kept driving, they stayed with me. Close, too close. I sped up. The truck did too. That's when it hit me. I wasn't imagining this. Someone was following me. My mind raced. What the hell was going on? Was it the old man's truck? Why would he follow me? The truck stayed behind me, its headlights blinding in my mirrors. I was going well over the speed limit now, gripping the wheel tight, praying for some kind of exit, some kind of sign that I was getting back to civilization. But there was nothing. Just more empty road. I glanced at my phone. No signal. Figures. Panic set in. I floored the gas pedal, the engine roaring as I tried to lose the truck, but it was right on my tail. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat, the adrenaline pumping through me. This wasn't just some harmless coincidence. Whoever was behind me, they meant to do something. After what felt like an eternity, I spotted a sign. An exit ramp leading to a state highway. I took it, swerving onto the ramp and praying the truck wouldn't follow. It didn't. It kept going straight, disappearing into the night. I let out a shaky breath, my body trembling as I pulled over to the shoulder. For a long moment, I just sat there, staring at the empty road ahead, trying to process what had just happened. I don't know who was in that truck or why they were following me, and I don't want to know. But one thing's for sure, I'm never taking that road again. Not at night.